It's my pleasure to present preparatory work for CO2 pilot injection into naturally fractured carbonates reservoir in the Czech Republic. Unfortunately, we have only 15 minutes, so my approach was to put more slides in my presentation, and if you are interested, you can read them after the downloading this presentation, so I will skip some slides. This is an example of common collaboration between the Czech specialists from the Czech Republic, especially MND Oil Company, Czech Geological Survey, Mining University Ostrava, and together with Norwegian specialists, especially from Norse. So this work has been done within the CO2 Spicer project, which is focusing on to prepare for pilot injection. So no real injection within the project, no focus on a large-scale project. Field introduction. Our field ZAR3 is located approximately 30 kilometers from Brno. For better imagination, here is Vienna, here is Bratislava, capital of Slovakia, and here is Prague, capital of the Czech Republic. The field is located on southeast slopes of the Bohemian Massif. It was discovered in 2001 at depth approximately 1500 to almost 1900 meters TVD. That's an oil field with a gas cap and a limited aquifer. And it's naturally fractured carbonates, mainly dolomites, of the Jurassic age. We drilled 8 production wells. 4 of them are horizontal wells. And from the beginning, we were lucky we had a natural flow almost for 3 years. And currently, after approximately 20 years of production, the field is nearing its oil finishing. It's nearing the end of the oil production. As any other projects, one of the base tasks is to build a static model. So here are inputs, classical open hole logs into static model, 3D seismic, and for naturally fractured reservoir, very important imaging, FMS and FMI images. And for the first time, we also carried out whole diameter core analysis, not we, but in OMV in Austria, which is important also for naturally fractured carbonates because small plugs are not too much relevant. Next step was to convert that static model into a dynamic model. And there were additional inputs into a dynamic model, like production logging tools, plenty of pressure buildups, using also permanent pressure gauge in horizontal wells. Results of them are permeability around individual wells and radius of investigations, and of course 20 years of production. And here you can see the results from the history match. The observation well, we measured static bottom hole pressures during the whole production history. And the solid line is results from the simulator. Very important tasks were done within geomechanics. The purpose was to identify the safe operational window to ensure mechanical stability, meaning at what reservoir pressure and temperature will the reservoir or caprock fail, and at what probability. So here you can see results from the geomechanical experiments. This is the failure line for reservoir rock. This is for seal. Obviously, seal is stronger than reservoir. This dotted line represents reopening existing fractures. So those lines delimited the safe operational window, this green area. Here is the cloud of the results from the experiment for initial reservoir conditions at a reservoir of 52 centigrades. and reservoir pressure 70.2 megapascals. And during the CO2 injection, we can, let's say, operate or control the reservoir pressure and reservoir temperature by warming CO2 or injecting cold CO2 and so on. Here you can see how when we inject CO2, the pressure will rise. And this is the initial state at initial reservoir conditions. And here you can see like repressurization will push the cloud to the left, and cooling causes pushing the cloud to the in a northwest direction, and combining repressurization and cooling, that's this gray cloud, that combined effect pushes the points towards and behind the failure line. And here, counting the number of unstable instances, we can get a probability of failure, in this case, for that temperature lower than a reservoir, meaning cooling, and higher reservoir pressure than original pressure, meaning repressurizing. We can get this probability of failure. So our colleagues made this for several combinations of pressure and temperature and other geomechanical inputs, and running Monte Carlo simulation. So, and this is the result, very important, where the safe operations are illustrated in green color, meaning the probability of failure from 0 to 20%. That's this green area for those pressures and those temperatures. And the unsafe area is illustrated in blue. So that's this large area. Another important results from geomechanical work was depletion limit, because we have a gas cap, and we were interested how much can we deplete the gas from the gas cap, not to allow pressure to decline too much. But this, from the geomechanical point of view, we can deplete theoretically up to 0 megapascals, which is of course not practical. So this cloud, original cloud, was shifted here. So still within the safe area, here is the limit for the safe operations. So some more results from geomechanics is important for dynamic model, which is transmissibility multiplier, how transmissibility of the rock changes with pore pressure, and pore volume multiplier, how the pore volume is changing with pressure. And those two are important inputs, for example, into Eclipse simulator, particularly into RockTab keyword, which is this one. So we are dealing with natural fractured dolomites, so geochemistry is extremely important in this case. Unfortunately, I don't have final results yet. This is just some results from reactive chamber. They put reservoir rock into the react chamber together with formation water from the reservoir and CO2 for 6 months, and they, our colleague measured changes in pH and other stuff. And the results from the geochemistry is that from the beginning there is quite fast dissolution of primary dolomite and precipitation of calcite during the first month of the experiment. And within the next months later, some secondary phases precipitated, reduces porosity and permeability, but it depends on the distance from the injector, probably not directly under injector, maybe in the further distance with time and dissolved CO2 concentration. Now we would like to have much more work, especially some special software, geochemical software showing this this precipitation and dissolution in the time, in the distance from the injector. Would be nice to see how, if the injector itself could be harmed or not. I think no. Unfortunately, I have to go very fast through this risk assessment, which was done with NORCE guys. Risks were identified, analyzed, and evaluated. The most risks identified was this risk: leakage from abandoned well bores, leakage through caprock, through faults, fractures, and leakage from spill point. Those risks were analyzed. Here you can see how, for example, leaking well, abandoned well, how the CO2 concentration will be decreasing with the distance from the abandoned well. And it was also evaluated the consequences for human, animals, plants, and so on. Monitoring. Our colleagues also measured some monitoring, especially atmogeochemical, shallow groundwater, and seismic monitoring. Currently, we are waiting for results from a feasibility study on applicability of seismic methods for CO2 plume monitoring, which is especially tricky in carbonates. I will skip that. Here is the interesting plot, for me at least. This CO2 content how CO2 content in soil is changing from summer to winter, and from summer is maximum, in winter minimum, and also the difference between very wet summer and let's say normal wet summer. Skip that. They also monitored groundwaters in springs, shallow boreholes, water pumps. So now the main focus of our project is to design a pilot CO2 injection. As in other countries, the legislations not allow injecting more than 100,000 tons of CO2 during the pilot. We considered two main cases. First one is tracking liquefied CO2, but if we don't have any cheap source of the liquefied CO2, this scenario would be extremely expensive, buying CO2 and so on. So recently we started to consider another scenario, and that's separating CO2 from the fuel gas. We have available in our gathering station directly at the field. So, but the fuel gas is available from the gas burners that are used for oil in process of treating oil. But the main difficulty here is how to capture so small amount of CO2. So if you have any ideas, we can appreciate having some renting or building some not expensive surface facility for capturing CO2. Or maybe there is also under consideration that we would inject the whole bunch of fuel gas, not separating just CO2 during the pilot, but it still must be discussed and properly think. Here is the results from the simulation model. Here is the state just before the CO2 pilot injection, meaning at the end of primary production. As you can see, there is still some oil remaining. Here is water, blue, and gas. This is original gas cap, and gas expanded by depleting oil lower. And here, during the pilot injection, we assumed injecting into the current water disposal well into water zone. And here you can see how CO2 saturation is spread around the injector and flowing through the reservoir, and by gravity segregation located at the bottom of the current gas zone. So this is just by gravity. We simulated a small amount of daily injection, 120 tons for pilot, and 70,000 tons cumulatively, not whole 100,000, but it could be done also in that way. So, and after the pilot, we have to consider how to proceed further, meaning full field implementation, and several scenarios are under consideration and discussion currently. The base case is CO2 storage when we produce or deplete the gas from the gas cap, because Czech legislation doesn't allow storing CO2 when the field is not depleted yet. So, but maybe they will change the law and the legislation, because this is not too good scenario, because if we deplete most of the gas from the gas cap, reservoir pressure will rapidly decline, and as was discussed yesterday or the day before yesterday, Joule-Thomson effect could damage our injector and the whole process. So the alternative to that case, to that scenario, is to simultaneously produce gas from the gas cap and inject simultaneously CO2 into water zone. I like this alternative, generating blue hydrogen by burning the gas from the gas cap, and the waste CO2 injecting into water zone. Classically, it's not too much popular when we're speaking about CO2 storage, and theoretical alternative is direct air capture, but again, still some technology for surface facilities is missing. So I have to tell at the end that this project, CO2 Spicer, benefits from grant from Norway and Technology Agency of the Czech Republic, and here I mentioned all partners of the project. Thank you for your attention.